beautiful, because I do love talking about yoga and all the philosophical sort of concepts and ideas. And the concept of karma, the science of karma, the idea, the principles of karma is one of the beautiful idea, one of the beautiful concept of practice for household people or for anyone who like to grow, who like to be healthy, who like to be happy. Even though I do kind of understand in the Western kind of idea, the Western kind of concept of karma is a bit more tricky to understand, because lots of people just think like you if you plant something, you get that fruit, or karma is all about justifying and finding out why things are right or wrong with me. But the principles of karma is not really about finding out if what's happening in my life, why is it, or why am I suffering, why am I like winning the lottery, or why am I not winning it. It's nothing to do with that. So before we go anywhere, I guess we can, so few basic principles, the few basic sort of foundation, why do we need to understand, why do we need to talk about the concept, the principles of karma. Now the Vedantic and the yogic philosophy has few principles, the few basic things, and one of the principle, our teacher Swami Gitananda Giri, he always said that every human being has the first birthright to be healthy and happy. So that's your birthright, but we need to claim that. And to claim that, we need to understand the karma, we need to understand what we do. The simple idea, the simple principle, if you want to be happy, you got to do everything that makes you happy. You can't read miserable books, you can't watch horrible movies, and you can't be around people talking horror things, people talking terrible things, and expect like, oh, I'm going to close my eyes and feel happy. You will have nightmares. It's true. So you got to do everything, you got to think everything, you got to be involved in every act which makes you happy. The second principle, we all like to be healthy, but again, you got to claim it, you got to work for it, you got to earn it. You can't like, okay, I'm going to get drunk all night and then in the morning expecting, I want to wake up fresh, or I want to take drugs all night and in the morning I don't want to have any side effects. Or I got a bit of pain in my back or my knee and I'm going to take painkillers. That's not really going to lead you into a long-term health. So you got to do then everything that makes you healthy. Your lifestyle, your diet, the way you think, the way you respond, the way you do things. So that's the first reason we all need to look into, we all need to understand the principles, the science behind karma, science behind what we do, and how it will work for us. Because we all want to be healthy, we all want to be healthy. So then we need to learn what should we be doing and how should we be doing it, and we need to understand the consequences. Now the second principle, the second concept we talk about, that every human being had the seed, the potential in them to be self-realized, to attain liberation, to attain samadhi, attain moksha, or to get to the states of higher meditation. But to get to that point, you got to choose the right path. You need to know where you're going. If you need to catch your ferry, you do need to have a sat nav. How are you going to get to the port where you can catch it?
Have a booking ticket.
So that's the first step, isn't it? You need to know where you're going to book the ticket. That's even a nicer way to start. You can't just walk down like, oh, I'm going to go and catch the ferry and I will find it. You will eventually find it, but it might take you a couple of lifetimes, so maybe a couple of years, or if you're lucky, maybe a couple of days.
I've got a son like that. He just thinks he can just rock up.
So,
Because I've done everything for him. So he doesn't know.
so the second reason that we all have the potential seed in us, which leading us, which guiding us, which forcing us to gradually or eventually find the way to self-realization, to moksha, to liberation, or to attain the union with ourselves. But to get to that union, it makes our life easy if we have some sort of sat nav or some sort of guide, some sort of map. I remember a few years back, one of the students, or she wanted to actually join the course, and she left just from Beacon, So sort of like hour 10, 15 minutes from ashram where we are. And she was some of those people like, I trust my heart instinct, which I do appreciate, but it took her 11 hours to get from there to the ashram. She didn't check any directions, there was nothing. She got in her van, and then she just felt so embarrassed that she never come. She actually just came like quite close and found us like, oh, I just felt so bad, I'm not coming, which is fine. And then afterwards, kind of, we had few emails, and then she said, oh, my husband was so annoyed with me. I'm like, why? She said he actually put the sat nav in my car first thing in the morning so I can get to the point. But I don't want to use it. I want to use my heart instinct. So the second principle, we all are seeking to get to a goal. We want to achieve something. We want to get to something. So the concepts, the principles of karma can help us to have some sort of guideline, some kind of sat nav, some kind of map, which can lead us to make our life easy to get from point A to point B. Because then you know what you need to do, how you're going to do it, and what sort of consequences it's going to bring. And the third principle is we all are looking into what is right and what is wrong for me. Even though we all are like to be non-judgmental, but when it comes to making choices, when it comes to choose where do I go and how do I go there, then we need to decide what is right and what is wrong for me. And the concept, the principles of karma gives you a tool which individually you can choose, this is right for me in this appropriate moment. So those are the three basic principles, the reasons I believe that the concept of karma is talked over and over again, the Vedantic and then the yogic principles or the yogic concepts, the yogic ideas. So if we start thinking now, what is karma to begin with? What we do. But what we do normally, most people, or generally people think like what I do physically, that's my karma. But into Vedantic, into the yogic idea, the karma is not only what you're doing with your body, but it has another two deeper levels, what you do in your mind. Because physically, what you do is the manifestation of everything happening in your mind. Your physical act is just a simple outcome, a byproduct of all the processes you have done inside your head. You got to think so many times, you got to talk to yourself so many times to convince that this is what I'm doing. So they say the subtlest form, the deepest form of karma we do at that level of our drive force, that level of our mind. So the mansik, the mind karma, actions we take at level of our mind. We got few kids here. I'm sure if you think back, before having a child, you would have so many times thoughts and thoughts over and over again that this is what I want, before you bring it into your physical manifestation. Then once you think again and again and again, the thought takes its seats, then it comes to what we call the vachik, the expression through the words, through the speech. Now speech, when we say the words, it doesn't have to be always talking, it can also be the emails, writing, because there is a many way. It simply means communicating from the I, the me mind, to the you, to the we, to other people's mind. Because again, to make things physically manifested, it's not only you are involved in it, you are getting other people. Most of the karma we do, there are so many other people involved in it. So this beautiful festival we all hear, there is someone behind into the roots, had thoughts again and again, and then they started to send some thoughts, some ideas to other people, and then it becomes a team, and it comes to manifestation. So there is a vachik karma, the verbal karma, the where the words get involved between me and you. So there is a thought in my mind, I'm constantly thinking about karma, then I put it in action through my words, through my speech. We share our idea, we share our concept, we share what we're going inside our mind with other people. and then it manifests into our physical action, which is dehi karma, the karma we do with the help of our physical body. Now the subtlest form is the mind, then the gross form is our vachik, the verbal karma, and then the grossest form of it is the physical action, the physical manifestation of what goes in our mind. So that's the first way to look at the classification of the karma. Then the second way of the karma you are doing, you doing yourself. But then karma also you making someone else to do it for you, which is many ways. You might pay someone, you might encourage someone, sometimes you might discourage someone, sometimes you might just like walking out and make it on. I don't think you can lift that word. And the guy might get like overexcited, like I got to prove myself, and they lift something up. And there are many abusive sort of his stories we read where someone actually constantly tortured, mentally, emotionally tortured someone, that they at and they got so violent about it. And I've seen an event where like someone so shy and so decent in one of the class, never you will never even see the guy ever like even talking loud to someone, and then one of the teacher back in his school sort of constantly kept picking up and up over and over again and again on him, that one day it just all flooded out, and seriously he just lifted a bench and threw it on the teacher. So the teacher constantly emotionally that torture made that guy to get so full on like a volcanic sort of eruption. He erupted into the action. So the karma we do ourselves, then the karma we make someone else to do it, and that can be positive, that can be negative. I can encourage, oh, let's all try headstand, and hopefully we do it. Or I can just tell you, I don't think you will ever be able to do headstand in your life. Now the people who have got that what we call the positive ego, the self-esteem, they will try and they will work on it. So there's two ways to encourage people, or you pay someone to do it. So the karma you doing it yourself, or the karma, the actions you make someone else encourage or discourage or pay anyhow, that someone else does it for you. We become responsible for both of them. Then we have the third way to look at the fruits of karma. How does it fruit? Now some karmas we call the instant karma. You get the fruit here and now. You're walking along the street and you see someone and you picked something up, or you saw someone dropped something, you pick it up and give it to them, and you get a beautiful thank you, you get the smile, you get a hug, or you get the appreciation. So your karma resulted instantly. Or if you said something nasty to someone who is a bit stronger than you, they will hit you back. But maybe if it's a weaker person, or some people just don't have the reaction, then those karmas which are not resulting instantly, you put seeds in your ground, in your garden, you're not going to get your cabbages, your tomatoes, or your fruits instantly there and then. So those some karmas, they go into what we call the seed form, and they take a long process and they wait for the right opportunity to sprout or to fruit in your life. So those karma we call them sabij karma. So the one is the instant karma, the karma which is resulting here and now on the spot. Then we have the sabij karma, the karma which goes into the form of seed, and anything seed goes into seed form. It waits for the ideal situation. It waits for the right opportunity. Again, you can just again look back in your garden. You got some bulbs, some flowers planted, and they come over and over year after year, every year in the garden, but they don't really have the set like, do I come out in January or do I come out in March or April? They come out when the weather is right for them. Sometimes you get to see the lily flowers way before the season if the weather goes a bit too hot. This year everything went, some flowers it took another month to be seen in the gardens. So just think of those bulbs, those flowers, they come up year after year in your garden. But what they do, their seeds rest in the ground and they wait for the ideal situation. And I can tell you, if the weather goes, if we have just the ice for right through the year or 2 3 years, still those seeds will wait, and the bulbs, they will flower back again whenever the ice melts and whenever the grass gets green again. So we have the karma which is resulting instantly. We have the karma which goes into the seed form. Now the seed form has the two ways. The one karma which we can see that happening from A to B, or A to the fruit. Now again, the simple example: you plant a seed in your garden. After 4 weeks, 6 weeks, you go out and pick the leaves to eat, or maybe 6 7 weeks you pick the tomatoes to eat, or you join the course and you go through the studies, and you get to see the fruit of your studies, you get to see the fruit of your practice in eventually in the time, or maybe you decided to build a house. So you can see the karma you're doing, and you can also see the outcome, you can see the result in a series which is both linked to each other. So those karmas, we call them kiryaman karmas. So the karma which is in action and the fruit is also in action at the same time. So you can see the karma from beginning to the end, and you can also see the fruits growing as you are processing, you are living through your life. And I guess the work we do, everyone, all of us do, we can see the karma and we can see the result eventually every day, or maybe once in a month if you work for council. But if you run your classes, you can see the material fruit
More
of.
rewards than money, isn't it?
No, no, I'm coming
Maybe
to
in the
that.
leisure centre.
Yeah, yeah, I'm coming to that. Don't run. So the fruit of that karma, the byproduct of that karma, can be seen in that way. So that karma has the instant, the kiryaman, the action, which is seen. But then that karma also has what we kind of beautiful Elijah is bringing in there, the deep rooted background which might result at some point later on. So what we call the credit karma, it's like your credit or your debit card. You're accumulating the holistic, the spiritual benefits of your karma too. So there is a material benefit of your karma, but then there is also what we call the social and holistic, the spiritual benefit of karma too. And that's where the really the yogic or the Vedantic concept of karma comes in. It's not really the concept is about I work, I get money, I plant seeds, I get the vegetables, or I do this, I get that. It's actually looking into the benefits in a holistic way, that I work in a leisure center. Okay, I get money paid to pay my bills, but deep in my heart, I work to bring people into joining something that can help them to achieve health and well being. But that karma, that fruit, you wouldn't see that every day. You might get old person coming in every few years or few months, say, I'm so glad that I came here to join you, or you helped me to, you tell like, oh, your kids should join swimming, and I did actually, and I see the benefit. So that karma becomes what we call the adhyatmic karma, the spiritual karma, which has more humanistic, more long-term benefits. Now, each of these categories we're going so far, I'm only talking about the positive. I thought we all are positive people. I don't need to really go into. So each karma we talked so far, from the physical doing karma to the spiritual adhyatmic karma, has the positive and it has the negative. Just think of the two sides of the coin. The love and hate, they are just the two sides of our one emotion. Peace and anger, they are just the two sides. Humanistic people, the humanistic consciousness and the selfish consciousness, just the two sides. It's just a flipping over, isn't it? If you flip over, you become humanistic, you think of everyone, and if you flip yourself other way around, all we think is I, me, myself. But there is not huge gap. It's just that transcending from me to we, transcending from I to us. There is not huge gap. It's just the flipping the coin over. So each classification, each way we look, or we want to talk, we want to think about the karma, has the two sides. One is holistic, one is spiritual, adhyatmic, and then other one is selfish, or the negative. Now, Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, I love the concept, the way he talks about. He says, the first thing we all need to remember, we can never be free of doing the karma. If you're doing nothing, even if you say sit down and meditate, he said, still you're breathing. Still there is some thoughts in you. And when you come out of your meditation, you will be eating, you will be drinking. So the karma is not only that you go out and you shout at someone, or you sharing your love, you sharing your wisdom. Karma is also everything we do. So he said no one can ever be free of karma. And the only way to sustain humanity, sustain love, sustain this nature, this prakriti, this universe, by doing our karma to our best. So we need to remember we can never be free of the karma. But then he says, you can be free of fruits of the karma you do. By offering your karma, by doing your karma in best interests of humanity, or not being indulged, not suffering with outcomes. What do I get from it? You just do your best and you leave the rest. You don't have any control on the fruits. So why do we worry about it? You can do what you can do. The end product is not really in our control. You can plant a seed in the garden, you can look after it. Is it going to flower or not? And you just don't know when it flowers. If the wild wind and the wild rain comes, and before you come out in the morning to see the flower, it's gone. You never seen the flower. So we don't really have the result, we don't have the control on the fruit. So he said, then why do we worry about it? Why can't we really think and invest our time, our skills in what we need to be doing or what we need to do, and forget about the fruits? And then the second thing he says, can we offer all that karma and the fruits to the divine, to the humanistic, to the supreme consciousness? So the end result, the end outcome of what we do, it has a huge influence on your own desires and what's going on in your mind. That's true. If
Nothing but twig.
the little sound can help a child to be happy, so it's just making the sound. But the child does not really have that kind of, like, what we have, the judgmental thing, like, oh, I'm doing it, how would it help me, how would it please this person, how would it please that person? He said, can we do our karma to our best and stop worrying about other people, other things? Now, before I go anywhere further, I guess we need to really sort of look into understanding what is right and what is wrong. And that's, I more I think about it, it's the trickiest kind of business to really get involved into. Because the right and wrong is just a perspective of a situation. In one situation, it can be right, in other situation, it can be wrong. You want to sit down and meditate every day, all day. It's fine, you sit here all day. Hopefully people will bring you food and drinks at some point. And when I was monk, it did happen most of the time. But if you sit down, decided like, okay, I'm going to go off, and on driving down M4, and then suddenly just had the urge in you, stop your car in the middle, get out and sit on the middle of the road. Okay, I'm meditating here. It's going to cause pain, it's going to cause disaster. So you might think it's right for me to meditate, that's fine, but it has to also have a right perspective, a right attitude, and a right situation. We got to create the what we call the time and the space and the right energy in it. Or think, maybe one of you invite everyone, like, oh, come around and I will make a lunch, and everyone arrives at your place, and then you just said, like, oh, I think it's a beautiful day, and the sun is shining and the moon is at the peak, all the planets are in right ideal situation, we should fast. How would that go? And there is nothing wrong in fasting. Okay, this is such a beautiful concept. But if it's being done in a harsh way, where you invite hundreds of people or maybe your best friends and say, "Oh, we're fasting today." If you invite people, that okay, I'm going to teach this and that, and we're fasting for 3 days, it's a different situation. Or I invite my best friend Peter, like, come on, Peter, we'll have a bit of chat. I need to talk to you about something. And he arrives, and I just zip my mouth and say, I'm just practicing silence today. I'm Mona. I'm not talking. Doesn't matter how good it is. If the things are not done appropriately, they cannot be right. They cannot be looked positively. They cannot be looked happy in a happy way. And I'm glad, a few of you got kids here. In the morning, you decide, oh, I think I'm just going to meditate on my chakras. I'm afraid that's not more important. More important is wake up, get your child sorted, feed him or her, and get them dressed up, change their nappies. That's actually more important than doing your chakra meditation. Well, like, yeah, we all know that chakra meditation can quickly lead you into enlightenment or samadhi, but the situation is demanding the dharma, what we call the duty in that moment, is different. So the into the yogic and Vedantic, the Patanjali, the way he puts it together really beautifully, he used the three verses or the three principles, three ideas to give us our own insight. So he's not telling us this is right and this is wrong. He said there are three things, the three inquiry, three questions you ask yourself, and if you tick the three boxes with yes, it has to be good for you. And the first one he asks, can you ask yourself before you think, before you do something, before you make a choice, am I happy to accept the consequences? Am I happy to accept the fruit? And that's some of the reason I love the some of the like the Bhagavad Gita or Yoga Sutras, because they don't really tell you what is right and wrong. They give you your own sort of book, your own sort of ways to calculate that this is right for me and this is wrong for me. So he says, before you make a choice, before you do something, can you ask yourself, am I happy to accept the consequences or the fruit, whichever way you want to use the word? And he says, if you say, yes, I'm happy, you move one step forward. Now, the second thing, again, he comes back, even though we all think that there is the individual health, there is the individual happiness, this is all about self, it's all about Purusha, the Atman, which is seeking to get to enlightenment, get to liberation, to get to health and well being. But health and well being and happiness is not just a merely me, it has a much bigger picture. The health and happiness actually, it's inclusive. We have to include people in it. There are people very dear to us, there are people care for us, people we care for, or people we have included into our life and our events. Then you got to think, how does it affect or influence all those people around me? Now, you all are here to come and sort of like waiting, okay, Jnandev will come and talk at some point, and I don't turn up. Or maybe I decided to meditate. I decided to attend samadhi or do something which can be very good for me, but how would it affect for people who are waiting for me? Again, in the morning you wake up and you got a partner, you got a child. You can't just decide like, okay, I'm not doing anything, I'm just doing something for my own self. You got to make a choice which helps other people, which helps your children, which helps your friends, your society. So he says the second choice, when we're making a choice, when we're doing things, we're thinking what to do, how to do, you again reflect into how that choice, how that action, that karma I'm doing will influence all those people around me. If I run a teacher training course and people signed in, and the next day if I decided, oh, I think it's time, I'm just getting this deep urge in me to be enlightened, to be liberated, and I just leave. So maybe I left it for my sake, my own enlightenment, but you got to think how would that affect and influence all those people. And I'm using the positive here because to me the positive ones, because they are so good and so seems to be so nice, they can be actually more selfish than the negative ones. And many times I've seen that the positive happier people make much, they cause more pain than the negative people, because the people who are living too low down, too negative, they don't really have much impact on anything anyway. If someone's selling wine, if they don't turn up, I don't think it will be matter. But if Elijah, running and working into the office where so many people coming for health and fitness, and one day she decided not to open the doors,
You never know.
in, but that will seriously have more effect on people than someone selling the wine in a wine shop. If they don't turn up, might be good for people. So when it comes to the positive, the healthy and holistic people, I think we need to take even far more responsibility for our own karma, our own sort of life situations and surroundings. So the first thing you looked at, am I happy to accept the consequences, the result, the fruits? The second thing, how would that affect me and all the people around me? If it's like we're walking up and down the festival every time, and one of the things I love coming to this sort of events, when people look at you and smile, it just transforms you. It just really wakes you up. It just kind of, to me, that's the best holidays I can go to. Everywhere you walk, there's people saying good morning, good afternoon with that smile. If you walk around and everyone just look like serious and miserable, it's just going to drag the energy down. So even the facial expression, the energy expression, we need to think how would that affect everyone else around us. And you can experience that coming to a place like this. Just a little change, a little smile on your face just changes everything. So the health and happiness is not just I'm thinking in my head, I got everything I need and I'm happy. But the minute you open your eyes, you see your children, you see your friends, you see your family, and even to the far more extent, when we look around, other countries, other places, when people are suffering, it still has a huge impact, a huge influence on our own sort of humanistic, that inner happiness, that deep sort of contentment. We do feel like, can I do something? So you said the second tool, look into that and see if you're happy to tick that box. Yes, it will bring happiness, it will bring good to all those people around me too. And he said, if you're ticking the two boxes into the positive, into the green, then let's go into the third one. Now, with third one, he brings you back and he said, does it help me to grow? Because sometimes, there are events in life where they are amazingly good and positive for people, but it's just draining yourself down. You got to also see, does it help me to grow? The yogic idea, the yogic principle of ahimsa, the non-violence, the love, is not only about not harming or not causing pain to other people, but also not allowing other people to cause pain to you. So he brings it back, turn it around, and he said, does it also help me to grow? Because you can't always be polite, you can't always just like have the smiley face. Sometimes it's better to, make your eyes stressed and look a bit angry on your face if someone is being abusive, someone is not doing the right thing in front of you. And something I find, like karmically, lots of people I have known and I talk to them, the people who suffer in abusive relationships, they tend to be equally responsible for that, because they don't never stand up and say, stop it, I don't like the way you're talking, I don't like the way you're doing it, I don't like the way you are trying to use me, I don't like the way you're dumping your work on me. So sometimes, your karmic way also to think, does it help me to grow? So the three simple ways to inquire, he says, look into, Am I happy to accept the consequences? How would it affect or influence all the people around me, my society, my family, my country, or maybe if you think universally, to everyone else around it? And the third thing, how does it help me to grow? And Patanjali says if you tick all the three of those boxes, you are free of your own karma. Because the bondage, what is bondage? Bondage is when you feel or you suffer with it. You're walking around holding the hands of your own wife. You don't think about it, do you? You just enjoy, you appreciate. And if you sort of walking around and you left your wife in a corner busy with the three kids and you're walking around with someone else, you do have some kind of negative, the bad feeling about it. You work hard, you get money paid, you go out on holidays, you spend it on yourself, you don't think about it. But you're walking around and you just say, oh, he got a big wallet, and you snip the money out and you take the money and you go on holidays. Every day you're thinking consequently in your heart, why did I steal? Why did I cheat? Why did I do that? So the karma, you're doing it in a right way. There is no clinging, there is no mental or emotional suffering, there is no guilt, there is no frustration, there is no anger in you. And that's to me when Lord Krishna or Patanjali says to become free of your karma, you do it with the best intention to help others, to help the humanity, or to be free of the fruits. So if you're not selfish, you're doing it for best for not only yourself but for other people. Once you've done it, you're not suffering, you're not thinking, you're not feeling bad, you're not feeling guilty in yourself. You are free of it. You made your meal and you eat and you feel healthy, you feel happy. Or you're just walking across and someone just bought food and left, and you just sneak it behind and steal the plate and eat it. So eating food is not wrong, is it? It becomes wrong the way we eat it. Earning money is not wrong. It's the way we earn it. Or enjoying your holidays, enjoying what you have, there's nothing wrong in it. But the way we enjoy, the way we take it, how we're taking it from people. So to become free, he says, can we do each and every karma with the right kind of moral and ethical values, with the right attitude, with the right heart? So we're not causing harm to other people, we're not stealing, we're not taking anything for granted, and we're not being abusive to other people. And I guess the principles the Patanjali offers for the best way to do our karma, he begins with ahimsa, the non-violence. That everything I do, can I make sure that I'm not causing any harm or any pain to anyone around me? But then he also says that when you're talking about ahimsa, when you're talking about that way to deal with people, deal with your food, your lifestyle, can you also make sure you're not allowing other people to cause harm on you? Because the karma is not only what you're doing, it's also what you're allowing to be done. And it's a really, really beautiful story. I love that story, and I always like to share when I talk about karma. And I'm sure you all have heard about the Mahabharata, one of the epic war in Indian history, where these five brothers and then 101 they're fighting for their rights. The five brothers, they wanted their share of the kingdom or the land, and then the other 100 they just wanted to steal everything. And when it comes to the battle, then the Lord Krishna and his brother, they came to them seeking for help, like, oh, this is the situation, would you come out and help us? So Lord Krishna takes side of the five brothers. He said, okay, I'm going to come and help you guys because I'm here for right. I'm do everything to protect the humanity, to get the right people to win. Well, like the second brother, eldest brother, he said, look, I don't really believe in himsa. I don't believe in violence. So I'm going to stay neutral. I'm not taking any part in this war. And he says, I'm neutral. Now, at the end of the war, when they killed everyone, he comes out and he said to Lord Krishna that you have done so many cheatings, you've done so much wrong to win this war, and I think you don't really deserve to be how people look at you. And he looks at his own brother and he said, what do you think you are? What rights do you have to come and talk now? And he said, yes, I'm the only one into the whole sort of war who stayed neutral. And I love the way he says, like, when it comes to making a choice of right and wrong, I'm afraid there is no third choice. So even in the right and wrong, if you make a choice of being neutral, he said that's a wrong choice. If someone is stealing in front of you and you say like, oh, I'm just going to stay neutral, you allowing that to happen. Okay, if you can't do, you are helpless, then he said you don't need to get yourself killed into that situation. But if you have the power, if you have the strength, you should do everything you can to prevent that cause to be happening. Think if it's a dog trying to chase a child, and we all just like, oh, we're just going to be neutral, it's their karma. We become more responsible than the dog. You can't just sit there and watch that happening. So he said there is no third choice in those situations where you're making a choice between right and wrong, or protecting humanity, protecting kindness. So you're not causing any harm, but you're not allowing other people to cause harm as best as you can. Because he also says, kind of, the two concepts, when you put them together, he also says there are situations where you need to do your best and then leave the rest. If there is a situation where you can't do much. If you got 5 robbers in front of you, it's better to actually run and phone the police than jump in the middle. So that's your best, isn't it? You got to quite consciously think in the situations, what is best for me here and now? Because if you jump in it, you will be another victim. But if you do something a bit more different, maybe you can prevent something more disastrous to happen. So these principles, these concepts, they're not one way that I'm following it in a certain way. It's also not allowing other people to do them, or 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 sort of like be abusive, be aggressive, be nasty to you. If someone is trying to steal your car and is just saying that, I think I'm just going to chant the mantra Santi or Om, and hopefully it will come back. It's just a beautiful story, actually. The one of the in the Muslim, the I think in the Bible, some, not the Bible, the Quran somewhere, where this king, he really follows and he believes in Allah, and then he one day he decided, okay, let's go for a nice sort of in a disguise to wander around in our country and see how people are doing. Are they happy? And he took one of his best followers to go with him. And obviously his follower, he believed in Allah more than the king himself. And one night the king was overtired and he fell asleep before the guy. And in the morning when they woke up, their camels were gone. And he looked at the guy, like, where are our camels gone? How are we going to go further from here? And he said, I believed in Allah. I thought Allah will look after everything. He said, you idiot, it's nice to believe in Allah, but make sure you tie your camel. You go to tie your camel and then believe in Allah. He's not going to come down to, tie your camel, would he? So you got to protect yourself. The divine is there, the energy is there, but the divine does not have to manifest in form of the way we have read into stories, where we have read into the mythological, mystical books. That's just a way to open our heart, to be excited, to look forward to something. But really, the divine can manifest in your life in much simpler ways. To me, that little sound in between when I'm hearing it, that's just the divine sound. I don't have to always chant Om. If I can hear that, I can feel sort of nurturing. So if you open up to different sounds, different life forms, it can just help you to heal your heart, heal your life. The another story, I'm sure you all must have heard, is the guy who believed. No, it's fine. Oh, it's really lovely. No, no.
I love it, but
No, it's really lovely. I love it. I just love it.
Good.
Yeah.
Keep it.
Yeah, I love it. So, this is another really, really lovely story where about the way we look or where we search for the divine. And this guy again, he was one of the pandits, worshipped Vishnu every day, and he hoped I worship Vishnu so much. Hopefully one day Vishnu will come and help me if I need. And then there was a flood warning. The whole village were leaving or evacuating the village, and they shouted like, "Come, we need to run. There's a flood warning. We'll be flooding here in a couple of hours. You need to leave now." And the guy like, "No, I'm not doing it. The Vishnu has to come himself to protect me, or the divine, whatever God he believed." And then after a few hours, someone else came in with a jeep, and he stopped again. Like, "Do you know we got only 5 minutes? Jump in my car, and and we'll get out. We will save our life." And he said, "No, I'm not doing it." Gradually, the flood kind of got rise and rise, and he climbed up on top of his roof to save himself. And another guy came with a helicopter. Someone came with a boat, but he just decided not to take it. Now, really, my guru, my teachers, they always say people like him. Dr. Anda says it's quite funny. They will never end up seeing the God. He said, "I can promise that." But obviously, it's a story. So the guy did ended up seeing his God, and he complained and winced like, "Oh, I did everything in my life. I worshipped you. Why did not you come and save me?" And he said, "That's just your attitude, your perception. I came there to save you in form of all the villagers. I was driving a car for you, a jeep for you. I was driving a boat. I was riding a boat. I was riding a helicopter. What else can I do to save you? You just don't take it." So the divine does not have to manifest into the artistic forms. It really manifests in our life if we open up to it. So what we do is our karma. The way we do it is our karma, and then we also choose the attitude. Because I think to me the really this essence of health, happiness, or the joy into the yogic practices, the yogic attitude, yogic lifestyle, it's really your attitude, the way you see. If you see that beauty, if you see that joy in it, it's amazingly nurturing. If you see the joy in playing around with a child, it's so healing. And if you don't see that, if you just see like, "Oh God, what I got now, just tiring, and I have to wake up 3 times 4 times in the night," and it is, yes, I can tell you, physically exhausting. I got three too. It's physically exhausting. But if you have the attitude of looking at the life in its the best way, then you even enjoy that tiredness, you enjoy that exhaustion, because there is something so nurturing in it. So
and it's the service.
Yeah, it's a service, yeah.
Giving is just, it's healing and energizing.
So if you open to that, it's amazing. If you not, then it becomes very depressive. And lots of people do suffer now with the postnatal depression, because they have seen the movies, they've seen the trailers. When you go and see someone else with a child for 10 minutes or maybe half an hour, go for lunch or dinner, it just looks so calm and so sane and so organized and clean and tidy. And when you sign in into the real movie, it's just completely upside down. But it's
The strawberry covered baby movie.
yeah. It's the attitude. It's the attitude, the way we perceive our life choices. Because the karma is really, when you understand the concept of karma, it's the choices we make, and we live to those choices. If we're happy to live on to those choices, life is amazing. Life is blessing. Life is divine. And if we make a choice and then after 10 minutes we don't enjoy it, we don't like it, and we can't move on from that either, because this whole, what we call the yoga, in yogic term we have the abhinivesa, that clinging, that clinching onto, holding onto things. And I kind of see, if you're holding onto something good, you can say, "Oh, that's my baby." It's quite beautiful. If you say, "That's my house, that's my car," it's not really as bad as when people start possessing onto the problems. And this is a whole new fashion these days. People sort of say, "Oh, my depression, I got heart problem, my blood pressure, my diabetes." It's just a huge karmic, mental, negative karma people creating around them. And I guess there is a huge attraction in it, because you get the sympathy, you poor thing. And the culture we're living in is so negative now. If you put something negative, everyone will come to you and ask you, what's wrong with you, you poor thing, what happened, tell me. I'm happy to listen. And if you walk past and you say good morning with a beautiful smile, "How are you?" "I'm very good, I'm happy." It seems to be, most people seems like, or nothing to talk.
Very much so.
But this karmic attitude is really thinking how, what do I get from it? Does it help me to grow? Does it help me to be healthy? Does it help me to be happy? Okay, being miserable and possessing to problems, it does get attraction, it does, invite people to come and talk to you, but does it really help? We come back to the first principle, that we have the birthright to be healthy and happy. But really, being miserable, being negative all the time, does not help at all. And the instrumentally, our body, believe it or not, is a simple instrument of our mind. Your body has to chemically, not just in a simple way, it has to deep down chemically respond to every thought, every idea, every attitude, every concept goes into your mind. And in the modern science, some of the quantum and some of the neuroscience, they're doing so much research now, and they're talking about our physical body is one of the most complicated and most advanced chemical factory in this universe. It can produce any chemical, any drug you like to experience. So seriously, if you fancy, I love drugs, you don't have to spend money on it. And I guess that's where some concepts we got wrong. People talk about meditation, and they say like, oh, if I take drugs, I can get into same hallucinated states of freedom. Or people, some people, which is not really the yogic idea, the yogic concept, I can tell you. People say like, I go to smoke bhang before I can do my chanting or meditation. But the experience seems to be very close, because it frees your bonding, your attachment to your day-to-day life, or the suffering or the pain. But obviously there is a side effect to it. So your body can actually produce any chemical, anything that you're thinking, you're desiring, you're seeking to experience. So if you're constantly sitting there thinking, I love it, I'm happy, your body releases honestly hundreds and hundreds of various kinds of endomorphins, which just makes you light, makes you feel good in yourself. And if you're thinking, I'm not happy, everyone just looks so miserable, everyone hates me, no one likes me, you're just releasing that, and that's constantly then radiating through your aura, through your energy. So we're creating our own universe of bubble, our own universe of energy, and we see people around us and us like that. If you think, if I meet with one of you, I just had few little chats with few of you, and if someone like after 10 minutes come and ask me, oh, can you tell me about that person? Seriously, I tell people, or you will tell the exactly same thing I tell you. So no one is really out there judging us. People are telling each other the stories, what we tell each other about. So Eliza tells me, I work in a health center. This is why too. When someone asks, oh, Eliza, can you tell me about her? I will tell exactly what I've known and what I know about people, what they tell me, how we present ourselves to other people. So I don't think we need to worry much about what people talking about us, what people thinking about us, because they are thinking what we're making them to think. So if you tell me that I do this and I do that, I love to be happy, and someone say like, oh, can you tell me, I'm looking for that person, I'm like, oh, is the person just this? Look around, the person you see the beautiful smile and always happy, that will be the person to look for. If you tell me I do yoga every day and someone asks me, I say the person is, he or she does yoga every day. Or you say I'm vegan, I tell people you are vegan. So really all these stories about us are not really people making them up. It's what we presenting, what we showing to us. So the
I got something to say.
Yeah.
I work in the leisure centre, and that's why you know me.
Yeah.
But if people ask me what I do, that's not the first thing I say. So actually, what you're saying, you said it. She works in the leisure centre. It's what you, because you bring your children to
Yeah.
swimming, and so that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know about me. It's not what I've said to you. It's what you've seen.
Yeah,
So
but
if
that's what
anyone asks me, I don't say I work in the leisure centre. That may be the third thing I might say, or the fourth, or not say it at all.
Yeah, but that's what that's
Yeah,
my
but it's not
point.
what I've said to
Yeah.
you. It's
No,
what
that's
you've
fine.
seen of me.
No, but my point is not. My point is, yeah. that people talk about us, what we are showing them, what we offering them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
kind of you adding up to what where I left,
Yeah.
that there is many of us. So it's when I talk about you and me, it's not only me,
Mm.
the one person, is it?
Yeah.
There is a story, there is a different personalities of us for different people.
Mm.
If we can live up to all of them, that's the karmic happiness.
Mm.
Because we have the dharmic duties, we have the duties, we have the karma to fulfill in different karma for different situations. You have a karma as a mother, you have a karma as a wife, you have a karma as a friend, you have also your duties as part of the society or maybe the work you do, and we got to be right in different situations. And I guess that's one of the reasons, why Patanjali says the three ways to look at the karma. He does not say what is right and wrong in a subjective way, because it can't be put into a box. Because our karma, our dharma, our duty is different in different situations. There is your dharma, there is your karma when you're in the work, there is a dharma when you're home, there is dharma when you are with friends, there is dharma when you're out on holidays. You got to live all these different aspects in most beautiful, harmonic and kindest, peaceful way we can. You can look into dressing up. You dressed up nicely, you're going for a party or a function or a dance class or something. It's a one way, and you're going to something more social, or or maybe a yoga class. You got to dress up different. It's the appropriation, isn't it? If you are appropriate into the event, into the situation where you're going, it's fine. If you end up in a vegan party and you ask like, oh, where is my meat? It's not going to go down well, is it? And I remember once, kind of, I'm I don't really mind the way people dress up, but if someone, I remember once, it hasn't happened many times, but this young girl, really pretty girl, and turned up in the class and just dressed up in a little frock, and you think like, what are you going to do? And it wasn't really kind of, I can close my eyes, it's fine, but everyone is just looking at her. And then whatever I was thinking, okay, can we do this? Can we do that? And she's just pulling them around and then trying to, and after 10-15 minutes, she just felt too uncomfortable and has to leave. And I'm sure if she would have ended up, in the same sort of group in a different situation where we're just sitting down for a social meal, it wouldn't have bothered her. So the karmic thing, the karmic this concept is really finding the way to be appropriate in the right situation. And Swamiji, our guru, he said something so beautifully again. He said that everything is right or perfect as long as it's in its own right situation. So if things are done, if things are in an appropriate place, in a right situation, with the right attitude, with the right sort of reason, they are good. If you pick up a bag of compost and take it in your bed and say, I'm going to make a pillow, it's no good, is it? But if you take it out in your garden when you're planting seeds, it's blessing, it's divine. So there is nothing wrong in compost, is it? But it has to be in a right place. So your meditation has to be right place. Your sensual pleasures, the way you eat, the way you drink, it has to be in a right way. And to me, that's the highest virtue of karmic concept, the karmic understanding, that we understand that I want to enjoy my life, I want to do everything. I had the desires, I had the kind of the force in me, but can I fulfill them? Can I enjoy them in a rightful way? So the Vedantic, the old yogic idea, was never based on suppressing our desires, but it says finding the best possible way to fulfill or enjoy them. And I will stop there. So if anyone has any questions or anything you'd like to ask or add, you can.
I'm really fascinated by what you said earlier about the karma of an action reaction on somebody, the student that ended up throwing the bench at the teacher because he'd been picked on and picked on and picked on. I think we seem to have a culture at the moment of thinking that it's this dialogue about reacting or responding. That it's all on you to respond correctly instead of reacting, in haste or in anger or anything. And the idea that the person who dished out the stuff that provoked, the person doing the chest prodding, it's not their problem, it's you and your reaction. I think it's really, we're just at that point. It's really helped my mind process things, that it's everyone owns a bit of that situation, and we've all got a responsibility, because there is a lot of talk about it. Just I don't know. That's really thanks for that.
One of the things that my mind was consumed with, and still is, it still comes quite often, is there's intentions. I have to let this go, but whether or not people manipulate karma. So I have felt in the past that I have, and obviously this is part of my karma, but I felt in the past that maybe people have used me to dilute their karma. So they get me to take an action which I then react to, because I'm not maybe as aware as they are. And then they kind of pass the fruits of the karma to me. And I wasn't sure if that's even possible, or if that's just an incorrect understanding of karma.
Yeah, you do kind of. I think if you get involved in anything, if you allow things to get into you, then you are affected with that karma. So say if someone is giving you a compliment, okay, let's just take again simple example. You take it, the minute you respond to it, it also becomes your karma. If someone gives you something negative and you take it, you accept it, the minute you respond to it, you also become part of that karma. But the ideal way, as in Bhagavad Gita and in the Yoga Sutra, Patanjali says that we all need to learn to protect ourselves. So if something negative happening, we need to make sure that we do tell someone, look, this is the way it's happening, and I don't think it's right. Because most of the time, I think the some concepts of kindness or peace, we have taken it to very extreme. We tend to think like if we keep smiling all the time and we just like calm and peaceful, it will do good to people. But it actually, most of the time it does not, because you come back home, you just think, why did I not say it? And we actually, some people may be just not aware to it. What I got this amazing builder, he comes and work for us, and he is such an amazing skilled person that we can't really not have him. But the language, he got the proper British language. Every sentence he can make, there will be a couple of those beautiful words you don't want to hear. And first few times I used to just get so offended, because I'm just not used to that language. I'm not used to hear from someone so elderly from me. If I see like maybe younger friends back in college and university, people talk different, but someone so elder to me, I'm just never used to hear that language. I used to find very offensive, like what did I do wrong? Why he's talking in that way? And then one day I was like, look, we need to sit down and talk. And I said, I don't understand, why are you constantly swearing on me? What have I done wrong? And he's so seriously swore, I never swear. So the next day, what I have to do, which is sort of against the data protection and all these things, I just had my phone in my pocket, and I recorded it for him. And after that, I can tell you, his language, 80%, he said he never really thought that it matters.
Wow.
So maybe sometimes actually it has to be in a nice way. You can't just like kick people out, because there are people in your life that you can't live without them. But maybe instead of just carrying on and ignoring things, we need to find a kindest possible way to at least help people. Look, let's talk about it. I don't really see, maybe there is a way we can do it better. So yes, if you are not responding in a right way, in a right way, then yeah, you do get affected. And if you're affected with anything, you are getting fruit of it.
Becomes your karma.
Yeah, it does become your karma, because you're suffering with it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole freedom of karma. It's not accepting the consequences, not accepting the pain.
But there's also beauty in those experiences, because I've intellectual understanding of karma. I now have wisdom because I've been through those difficult and testing experiences where I haven't stood my ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I've suffered the consequences of not standing my ground. So now I know I need to stand my ground.
Mm.
As opposed to keep thinking in my head, oh, I must stand my ground, I must stand. Now it's like,
it's a question when to stand the ground and when not to stand the ground, and when it's right and when it isn't right, and then leading into what you were saying.
Mm. Yeah, but that's
when do you share that and when do you not share it? You know, as that the deeper in, you know, finding out when you share it.
when you stand the ground.
Stand the ground, yeah. And you've got to, you know, that safety aspect as well. How that person's going to that person may have reacted in a negative way, or is that again associated with the karma if you planted that seed?
Yeah, it's
you
a
would
very
not react?
very complex system, and we need to remember that we are all human beings, and it's not just the one way to respond or act or react to things, and really we all respond to things to the best in the situation. So you know what you've been through or what I have been through, I can't judge my past sitting here, because that past was being lived by me from who I was in that time.
Yeah. Well,
And
I think
now what I'm living, you know, if I judge my teenage time from
Yeah.
here, I was a different person. If I just sort of think of my future from here, no, I can't, because I would be a complete different person. So the life experience you've been through, they were important in that phase. And I kind of, the way I understand it, the one minute we realize it, then we need to really stand, make our ground.
I think I see exactly what you mean, because it's like, imagine you're a child and you're growing up with an abusive parent, so you're kind of innocent in it, but you learn, you don't say anything, you just take it, you never do it, and so it's not like you've got, you know, but as you grow older, when you realise, and the more you start thinking, no, I'm going to stand up to this kind of behaviour,
Yeah.
and you learn it and you more, but when you're a child you are kind of innocent in it, but it conditions you to, you just take it, and I mean, and then when you reach the adult point where you've learnt it, then you've got it really.
Yeah.
But it still comes back occasionally. It still, you know, and it brings back, echoes back, because I don't know, because I think that just those early years have got go so deep. It still echoes back and can upset you. But if you've learnt and you keep reinforcing it, then it's okay. But you get that bad, you know, when you're a
having
child.
That awareness, you know, but obviously that journey, having that awareness. Actually, that was then, and I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
I am here now.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not
and
gonna affect
you could maybe never really stand up to the person who did it. Well, I never did. My mother, until I was really glad when she died. But I never did. I could never really stand. I tried to. I did try to, but it never really. It still got to me. But I never let it happen from anyone else.
But that's the way
Yeah.
to really, you know, this what we really trying to understand. I'm quite glad that you're sharing this in such a nice way. It's not really about judging, but it's actually learning and then seeing how I can behave better. So if we can learn from it, then it becomes experience. And if we don't learn from it, then we keep suffering. And it's no point really, you know, suffering yourself for that experience all your life. You got to learn and then grow out of it, and maybe do things different to heal yourself. So if you can heal you can heal yourself by being a better person for other people. Or there are people, you know, oh, this is how I lived and I've been through, so I am going to do the same thing for you. So if you can learn from it, then you grow out of it and you become free. You
Well,
can
I could
heal
never
it.
grow out of it. I could never stop. You know, I could never ever stopped it getting to me the way she was. I mean, I could pretend, but I could pretend it wasn't getting to me, but that's slightly different. So she didn't know she was getting to me, but she seemed to like it. I don't know.
I can relate exactly to the experience you're articulating, because I had the same. The only way I can almost understand it is that that energy, it's an energy between me and my mum that is jarring, and I have to learn to try to harmonize it, but sometimes it's almost impossible because it's like hitting a brick wall, and no matter how composed I try to be,
it just goes back so deep to something when you were so young, and it's almost like, I mean, the amount of work that would be needed to resolve it was as massive, but it was resolved by her dying, and I feel terrible about that. But
do you know what happened to me?
what?
I kind of tried to distance myself from it, but then it would present itself in other forms in my life. And I've learned to be less affected by it because it wasn't directly my mum, but I could see that same energy and transaction occurring with others.
Yeah, well, I think.
But then now I seem less bothered by it. My mum has said she doesn't want to see me, ironically, which is because I approach her with unconditional love, and she finds that frustrating because she doesn't get the same exchange as she had previously. But now now I find myself in a job where I'm working with people who have suffered abuse from their parents. So I still am surrounded by that energy, but in a different capacity, which was really testing when I first started, because it was bringing up all of this stuff that I thought I dealt with, again, because it was that recreating that relationship with my mum, but from a different perspective, because I was seeing the suffering that someone else was experiencing in that relationship. And so it kind of gave me a new felt confidence, because I felt responsible for the negative exchanges that would occur between me and my mum. And then because I managed to step away from it and see it from an alternative perspective, I kind of had a deeper compassion for myself, which was...
And your mum, by the sounds
And my mum, yeah. But then that brings a whole new set of upsets, because I just want to embrace her, and her suffering, but it's
I guess the the karmic concept in the Tantra, they explain it sort of quite nicely actually in the time scale, that the karma is always there. So if you think of yourself as a big circle, okay, as a Euro one universe, and then in that big circle, then we got many little circles. Again, those old clocks they used to have, the one ring, and then the one circle moves, then all the little ones inside it moving. So the second, the minute, and that's how they explain the whole karmic idea. There's a big circle of you as a whole, as a complete, and inside that there are little bits of you from your childhood, every moment of your life. But if you shift one of them, either from the center somewhere or from the external, they all are moving. So if you can shift your own energy, your own attitude towards you or towards the people from your age now, it's actually also changing your past.
Right.
And that's how they explain. So
that makes so much sense.
The minute you change yourself little here and now, it changes your past, and it changes your future, because all these. So even though we think like, oh, my life here, I can't really change my past. You can't change the events, but if you change that attitude, it changes everything, because you the way you will write the story will be completely different.
Because it's the eternal now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it all stems from here. So even just sending your mum forgiveness and learning to compassionately forgive, it also is inadvertently forgiving yourself for accepting that abusive
in maybe
relationship.
I find it's working it's sort of without me doing too much navel gazing. It's happening naturally over the years as she's died. It's become more. It's all fine. I mean, I've spent about 5 years having nightmares that she was still alive.
Because I think lots of people, when I think about them, like they never really knew any other way. I'm not justifying it, okay?
No.
And
I'm not. I don't blame her for what she was. She was what she was.
Like when I think about my dad, he's really amazing. Seriously, he's an amazing person. But anger was always like on his tip. So if you have done something wrong, he can't just like, son, let's sit down. You shouldn't have done it this way. It has to be a punishment on the spot. Doesn't matter who is there. Doesn't matter what situation is. You will get a smack or two on the spot, and regardless of who is there. Okay, which can be so torturing and embarrassing in the situation. Even though the one thing I do love about him, he was never emotional torture. So once he is done over things, he would never talk about that thing ever. I never heard him like, you the one who done it. So once he's get over it, you talked about like, okay, I'm sorry, I wouldn't do it again. Doesn't matter how much smacks you get. He emotionally he never tortured it. But when I think back from now, from my different perspective, and when I look at other people around that situation, I see more love for him, even though I know that I would never behave in that way with my children, or when I talk to him now, I do say, maybe Dad, you could have done things in a different way.
So you're able to have that conversation,
Yeah.
not in an adult sense.
But I need to change myself. If I can't change my attitude towards his way of growing up,
It's new perspective.
yeah, I have the minute I can change my perspective, my attitude, my love, my relation with him changes from here, because he never knew anything else.
Well, it's an empathy, isn't it? You're talking about you've got an understanding, a deeper understanding of perhaps some of the reasons why he was reacting in a certain way.
Because I think for me, he just had that. For all four of us, he wanted us to be in the best position in the society, and he realized that if they go and watch films, if they go and play cards, if they do certain things, it's just going to be a blockage.
And as a child, you're only seeing.
Well, as a child, you don't see that, do you? You just say like,
The
oh, everyone is just
picture.
playing around in the ground, while like my dad is just sitting out on the door telling us, do your homework, or go to school. You can't do certain things. It's a very, I
A
remember
different
like
time.
sometimes it was very frustrating, and we're like, wow, we'd love to go and watch a film, we'd love to do this or that, but you're just not allowed to do it.
And a different society, a different time. It's like you say, it's the past, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the future, or the present. You can.
Well, like I can't do that with my kids. We can't do that because now
Well, you
in
could
the
though,
school,
couldn't you?
the
You
whole
could
culture,
continue.
the society is different. They already talk about, oh, all our friends been to watch Peter Rabbit. When do we go to watch it? So the society, the lifestyle, everything changes, even though there is no justification to the wrong. So please, I think to me, when I start thinking about the karma, don't ever dig into if something like that happened, that is right. Is abuse, any sort of wrong is never right, regardless of what karmic situation it is. But try to understand it from your perspective, from here and now, and transform your heart, your attitude, and try to live better.
Indeed.
I mean, the life is like so precious. Maybe we suffered for a bit in a relationship in a time, but you don't need to suffer with it.
Well, no, you don't want to.
Yeah, you don't want to.
You don't want to. I mean, just sort of trying. I mean, I did manage. I was to get rid of it, but it was.
And it's not easy. Okay, I know
But I
that
think
very well.
I mean, it was very hard to forgive her because she was very complicated. It was quite twisted, and it wasn't all for my good. It wasn't in my good interest. She had her own little agenda going on, but that's fine. I mean, I did. I did understand. But it was just hard to take. That's what I'm saying is about something being so deep rooted that it's like that. It was like coming from nowhere. That I felt I had for some reason I had little control over it, and I just had to wait for it to work its way out almost naturally, rather than which it has.
Do you know something I found interesting that you said earlier was about the way in which we tell our story or present our story. And like you say, if you change your attitude now, it changes the past and the future.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And so we present our story in multiple forms through vocalizing it through our actions.
Also, the way we think about it. To me, the deepest one is story. We talk to us because that's what you were saying. The manipulating, the karma. So we really the manipulation is not just the way you said. You go to manipulate it so many times to yourself before you say it to me, or you say it to your friend or the people. So we do talk the stories over and over again, and that's what Patanjali talk about chitta vritti nirodha, the stilling or quietening the whirlpools of mind.
Yeah.
So you're freeing yourself from the deepest, the subtlest form of karma by changing your own inner thoughts.
Yeah. I really relate to it, and relating to what you guys, and thanks sharing as well, because it's really helping me just listening to this throughout, and thanks for this beautiful talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
My experience is relating to what you're talking about with the death of my mum as well, which enabled me then to see from a different perspective, and over time the pictures from the past I can experience that where this cloudy dark place have suddenly become this joyful place. The focus has really changed. I see memories of happiness now rather than
the same as happening
memories
to
of
me.
cold and dark, and this is all in here.
But I've just purposely not really dwelt on it too much myself because I just didn't think it was particularly helpful. But it's like it has just naturally happened, which is really good because I didn't feel it was good for me. I felt it was more negative for me to dig in. I didn't want to dig. I wanted it to.
Yeah.
I wanted it to wash away, and I did. And I'm not a digger.
I'm a bit of a digger, you see. Not
No
good
dig, I'm no
sometimes.
dig.
Doesn't Patanjali say as well that, you know, if you have a swing to, like, remembering negative interactions, the consciousness swings in one direction to throw the weight in the opposite. So when I was having experiences that would bring up negative mind of my mum, like if she sent me an abusive text message, I would instantly, it took me a while to train myself to do this, but I wired myself to instantly recall the most amazing experience I had with my mum.
Okay.
So she'd send me a negative message, and before I'd respond, how dare you say this? And then, but I managed to train myself. Someone actually said it to me in passing whilst I was doing some street performance. He told me about it. It was almost like a crazy comment that I almost discarded, but he said he hotwired his brain to respond positively to negative interaction. And then I read it in Patanjali. And so whenever she sent me a bad text, I just instantly recalled the most amazing moment we shared. Oof, and it completely neutralised that response to
That's
her.
brilliant.
Brought an equilibrium,
It's
that
really
balance
good.
Yeah, the
back.
Patanjali classifies, he gives like a 5 different categories of the root, the seeds into our thoughts. You know, the first one begins with the pratyaksa, the direct experience, and you know, the way people talk to us, the way people say things, what we get, what we give. So there is a direct experience, direct perception. Then you say there is a experience we get from the agama, the scriptures, the books, or the life experiences of other people. Then there is the experience, the result also comes into our thoughts through the imagination, the vikalpa. We imagining things like, oh, this is how it's going to be amazing, or this is going to be disaster. And there is a vipriya, seeing things the way maybe they don't exist. You know, we again, the assumption can be so deep that there is, you're so hungry, starving in yourself, and there is a pot in front of you with a nice lid and decorated. So the thing is, there's food inside it. Or you know, in the dark you walk around and there is a rope and you suddenly jump up thinking of a snake. And then there is a nidra, the sleep, which is sort of what we call the ignorance, the lack of understanding, or sometimes we're there but we're not listening, we're not seeing things, we're not experiencing things in its own way. So that also causes. So if you know, we're 5, 6 sitting here and we're talking to each other, but I wasn't really listening. So the nidra in yoga way, not only when you sleep, it's also when you're actually sleeping, when things are happening around us, and then we go out, and then that brings us to create our imaginative reality or the truth about it. Like, oh, the guy might have talked this, or I said this, or this is how it happened. And then the last one is the smriti, the memories we recall from our past experiences. So these are like the subtle roots from where the karmic seeds or the life experiences or the thoughts and these whirlpools, yeah, they take roots from them. So yeah, you're quite right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.